Hello, here we are on chapter 18 now, and this section 18.1 is about type of mortgages and the monthly mortgage payment. Here's some types of mortgages for you to take a look at. A 30-year fixed rate, a 15-year fixed rate. Personally, I feel like a fixed rate's the only way to go, and I don't even know how often they do an adjustable rate these days. Most often it's going to be a 30-year fixed rate. Of course, you can do different number of years besides that. And so sometimes, depending on interest rates, you might finance for a certain amount of certain interest rate, and then, 10 years down the line, the interest rates are better. There's always the option of refinancing, or there could be an option of refinancing. And then notice we've got graduated payment mortgage. I don't think that one's a real common one. The biweekly mortgage is actually something that some homeowners decide to do. It shortens the length of your loan because you're applying principal more often. And then it kind of works, like if you get paid biweekly, then that might be a good way to go. It's basically you pay half the payment every other week. And what happens then is because it's every other week, you end up making more payments during the year as well as more often. And so you do pay more toward the mortgage than you would with a normal monthly payment. Home equity loans, that's something that you can take out if you have some equity in your home. If you want to do some remodeling or you need money for some other thing, that's a possibility. Interest only, terrible idea, right? You would just be paying only the interest and no principal in the early years of the loan. And once again, maybe people still take out those kind of loans, but I would certainly discourage it if I was talking to a friend. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do interest only. All right, so let's look at this next question, or this first question. Gary bought a home for $180,000. He made a 20% down payment. The 8% mortgage is for 30 years. What is Gary's monthly payment? Now notice we're going to be using the financial calculator. We are going to be doing some regular calculating, and then we're going to be using the financial calculating also, financial calculator also. First we need to figure out how much he's going to borrow. If it's a 20% down payment, then he will borrow 80% of the amount that he needs for the home. So if we multiply by 0.8, the complement of 20%, then we go directly to that. I'm going to encourage you to use that anytime you think of it. You can always do 20% and then subtract that amount. But if we just calculate it, then we find that it's $144,000. And that's what he needs to borrow. Now, there's a thing about putting 20% down, and I think that comes up somewhere along the line also. When you put down 20%, then you don't have to pay mortgage insurance, which adds to your payment throughout your loan until you do get it paid down to 80% of the loan. So paying down a 20% payment is good. Not everybody has. I mean, this was $36,000 difference. That's a lot of money. It's hard to have 20% down. Okay, so we're going to fill out the chart. It's a 30-year loan, so that's 30 times 12, which is 360. So remember, on your financial calculator, you're going to type 360 on your screen, or you can do 30 times 12 and push your equal key and you'll have 360 on your screen. And then just push the N on your TVM keys, and it goes into that register. IY is our interest rate, so we're going to take the 8% and divide it by 12, and that is a repeating 6. What you want to do is just leave that on your screen, right? You'll just have 0.66666 until the end. It'll say a 7, and then push your interest key IY, and that goes in just like you have it. Also, your calculator should be set on 9 decimal points, and hopefully you remember how to do that. It's just second format, which is on your decimal key. Put a 9 on your screen and enter, but we've just been leaving the calculator set on that. If you ever reset it, it goes back to 2, so then you would have to put it back on 9. Present value is the amount of the loan, and that is $144,000. Our future value is 0 because it's a loan, right? So at the end, we're going to have a 0 balance. So you put each number on your screen and push the key that it needs to go into. And then when it's time, when you've got everything filled except for the payment, then you push compute payment. And this is the payment you should get. Now I put the negative on here because I want you, when we get into the chapters after this, you're going to have to understand what's negative and what's positive. A loan amount is positive because you take that and spend it. So you got that money to buy something. But the payment is negative because that's money that you're paying in each month to pay your mortgage. So our loan payment, our mortgage payment is $1,056.62, and that is for 30 years monthly, right? Always monthly on these. Now we're going to look at something called PITI. There aren't very many examples in the book or problems for you to do on this, but I did put one on your work on Connect, so that I would just like you to take a look at this. Basically, you calculate the principal and interest. We're using the financial calculator. The principal and interest make up that payment of $1,056.62. So then we're going to put in the annual property tax and homeowners insurance and put that as part of the payment. A lot of lenders will have you pay your property taxes and insurance as part of your payment, and then they take care of those and pay them for you. So it's kind of like a savings account. The one that I'm most familiar with is called escrow. You put it into an escrow account. It is really your money, but they take that part of your payment and put it into this special account, and then they pay your taxes and insurance. This protects your lender. It also protects you, because if you let your homeowner's insurance lapse when you have a mortgage, they can actually buy it for you, and it's way more expensive than it would be for you. If you don't pay your taxes, then you could end up with a tax lien against your home. So it's very important that these things are paid for, because it protects you, it protects your lender, and it's required, right? Your lender requires that you keep insurance and, of course, pay your property taxes. Okay, so I've blabbed on enough about that. The PI portion of your payment is the $1,056.62. So that's principal and interest. And then the TI part is your, right, this is going to be the other T. This is the PI. There's the T, and then insurance is the other, is the I. So is the other I, because right, we have that on there twice. Okay, so our taxes, the T, we are going to pay 1/12 of that as part of our payment each month. So we take the $2,250 and divide it by 12. So monthly, we're going to pay an extra $187.50 to pay property taxes. And then we're also going to pay for insurance, and that is $1,440 per year. And we divide that by 12, and we pay $120 for that. And so our PITI is going to be the total of these three amounts, right? The PI part, the payment, the taxes, the insurance. I do wish there were a few more problems on homework for these, because I feel like it's an important thing to understand. It isn't a hard calculation at all. You just have to know the payment from your financial calculator and then just add the stuff on. So the amount that you would owe your lender each month would be $1,364.12. So you would make that payment like that's your house payment, and then you don't have to worry about your taxes and insurance because it's going to be taken care of by this. Okay, then what is Gary's total interest cost over the life of the mortgage? Now, this is a fairly simple calculation because you just take the monthly payment, whatever that was, So our monthly payment times N, and you know, you can push your recall button, recall N, recall's down on the lower left, almost to the bottom on the lower left of your calculator, and it's going to tell you how many payments that was. N was 30 times 12, so we were paying 360. Now, we use the same number of years a lot. It's going to be 15, 20, 25, 30. Most often we use 30. And so we're always going to have that 360 for a lot of the things that we do. We take the monthly payment, not the taxes and insurance part, because this is what we're paying on the loan, times 360, and that gives us 380,383.20. Now, that's a lot of money. Remember, we borrowed 144,000 for this loan. Now, it was a pretty steep interest rate. 8% is high these days. So that's part of the reason for all this interest. But depending on your credit rating, you could end up with a higher interest rate just because you're more of a risk if your credit rating's not that good. But these days you should be getting in the 3% range for sure whenever you have a mortgage. So $236,383.20 is the total interest paid if you keep this loan for the full 30 years. So you can see that it's way more than your initial amount. Just the amount of interest is way more than that. So that is kind of like, woo, that's a lot, right? And that's something you need to realize because that is the reality. Now we're going to compare that. Let me look at the next slide. We're getting low on time. Yeah, I want to finish this problem if we can. Okay. So if the interest rate was 10% instead of 8%, which is even worse, how much would he pay in total interest? What would the payments be? How much would he pay in total interest? And then compare his payment and interest cost to his previous loan. Now, you don't actually have to clear your TVM keys. I would say don't do that. Keep it because you already have the 360. The IY part, our interest rate is going to be 10 divided by 12. This is the only part that's going to change, and then of course you'll compute your payment. So put this in, 10 divided by 12 equals, and then just put that directly on your IY. You already have the 144 in there. And then future value we have in there. So we're going to compute the payment for the 10%, and you'll see that it's quite a bit higher than the previous payment. Now there are different ways you could go about finding the difference in this, but I'm going to go ahead and calculate it out just because I want you to see the whole calculation. So we're going to find the total interest paid. And we do that by taking our 360 payments times 1263.70. You can drop the negative when you're calculating. You certainly don't need that on there. And so 454,932 is how much we would pay. Now notice that was quite a bit more than the last slide when we were at, I don't know, 300 and some $1,000. Okay, so the total of the payments minus what you borrowed, and that tells you how much interest you paid for that loan. So we paid $310,932 in interest for the 10% loan. And then we're going to have $236,283 for the 8% loan. I'm going to pause and fill this out and then finish up. So I went ahead and filled this out. It was $74,648.80 more interest, and that was $207.08 more per month for that different interest rate. All right, I'm going to stop the video and then pick it up on the next one.